Today, we're tackling a really crucial area, how we don't just survive, but actually, thrive as artificial intelligence becomes a bigger and bigger part of our world.
Right. It's everywhere now, isn't it?
It really is. So we spent some serious time with an episode from the Future Proof podcast. It was called How to Stay Ahead in a World Ruled by AI, hosted by Alex and Jordan.
Good one. Yeah, I remember listening to that. They had some solid points.
Definitely. So our goal here in this deep dive is to kind of move beyond maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed by it all.
Uh-huh. That initial, oh no, what now feeling.
Exactly that. And to pull out practical, actionable strategies that, you can use right now to not just keep up, but actually excel in this whole evolving landscape.
Okay, sounds good. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's unpack this.
So what immediately jumped out, for me anyway, from that future-proof conversation was their direct take on mindset.
Right. The mental approach first.
Yeah, it's pretty natural to feel a bit uneasy, maybe even, well, fearful when we think about how much AI is growing.
Sure, the uncertainty.
But their core message, and it's a powerful one, is that letting that fear just paralyze you. That's the worst thing you can do.
Mm-hmm. Just freezing up.
Exactly. Passivity, just sitting back when things are changing this fast, it's basically a recipe for getting left behind.
Absolutely. They really stress it just, waiting to see what happens with AI, it puts you in this constant state of reaction.
Always playing catch up.
Yeah. Instead, the key is to be proactive. Get ahead of it.
Okay, so proactive. How? What did they suggest?
Well, one of the first really concrete ways they talked about was this idea they called skill stacking.
Ah, skill stacking. Yeah, I like that concept.
It's really interesting, right?
It is. It's this idea that you don't necessarily need to be the absolute world best at one single thing.
Right, not super hyper specialized in just one tiny area.
Exactly. Instead, by developing a combination of skills that work well together,
Hmm.
you become much more valuable. You stand out more.
Okay, like give me an example.
Well, their example is pretty good. Someone who has a basic grasp of AI principles doesn't have to be a coder, just understands it.
Mm.
Plus, they have strong communication skills and maybe some project management ability.
Okay, I see. So kind of a blend.
Yeah, a blend. That combination, they argued, is really sought after.
It paints a picture, doesn't it? Someone who can kind of bridge different worlds.
That's exactly the term they used, a translator.
A translator, okay.
Someone who gets the techie side of AI, but can also talk about its potential, its limits to people who aren't tech experts.
Right. Explain it clearly, manage how it's used, maybe.
Precisely. It's
Yep.
not just being the coding whiz or the great communicator, but having that potent mix.
So what does this practically mean for, for you listening? How do you apply that?
Well, if you zoom out a bit, this skill stacking idea suggests that maybe being too specialized in a really narrow field, that might be more vulnerable, right? If AI can learn that one specific task.
Oh, good point. Automation risk.
But the ability to connect different areas to see how AI fits into the bigger picture and explain it, that becomes a real advantage.
So it prompts you to ask yourself, okay, what skills do I have now? Maybe ones that seem unrelated.
Yeah, and how could you combine them in new ways, especially with AI in the mix?
That's a really good exercise. Yeah. And building on this idea of actively engaging, not just reacting, the future-proof hosts then shifted to something vital, cultivating critical thinking.
Oh, yeah, this is a big one.
This really hit home for me, especially
yeah.
knowing that, you, the listener, you value really understanding things, not just getting the surface level info.
Yes, and this is where AI presents a potential downside almost.
How so?
Well, when answers are just a quick prompt away, there's a real risk that our own independent thinking muscles, they might get a bit weak.
Ah, like we stopped doing the mental heavy lifting.
Kind of. The episode really highlighted the need to actively question the information we get, especially from AI. Don't just accept it.
Dig deeper, you mean?
Yeah.
Look at the sources. Check
Yeah.
the logic.
Exactly that.
It's like if you always rely on your GPS, right? Do you ever actually learn the route or how to navigate if the tech fails?
That's a great analogy. It's not about avoiding helpful tools like AI, not at all.
No, of course not.
But it's about making sure you still have that ability to analyze things yourself, to think critically, and to form your own well-reasoned conclusions. Don't outsource your judgment completely.
Yeah, that makes sense. Critical thinking becomes crucial for just sorting out what's reliable from, well, the sheer amount of stuff AI can generate, some of which might be wrong or biased.
Absolutely. It's about not just getting an answer, but understanding why it's the answer And maybe what are the other possibilities? What are the limitations here?
Okay, so proactive mindset, skill stacking, critical thinking. Essential stuff. Now, while AI is amazing at processing info, there's a whole set of, uniquely human skills that the future-proof episode really emphasized will stay absolutely crucial.
Ah, you mean emotional intelligence.
Exactly. EQ.
Yeah, and what was interesting there was the distinction they made. They talked about AI's ability to perhaps mimic emotions.
Right. You can analyze sentiment, maybe even generate a response that sounds empathetic.
But that's totally different from our genuine human capacity for emotional intelligence, real empathy.
So skills like
Hmm.
what specifically?
Things like empathy, actual leadership, being able to negotiate well, really understanding the nuances of human feelings and interactions.
The stuff that requires real connection.
Precisely. They presented these not as just, soft skills on the side, but as incredibly valuable, enduring strengths, core competencies, really.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, an AI might process data about a team's mood, but it can't truly feel empathy or build trust in the same way a human leader can.
No, that fundamental difference remains. True empathy, that gut feeling, that ability to connect on a real emotional level. That's what builds strong teams, fosters collaboration, resolves conflicts effectively.
So in a world where maybe we interact more through technology or even with technology, that ability to connect authentically with other humans, to lead with empathy, navigate those tricky interpersonal dynamics,
It doesn't just stay relevant.
it becomes even more valuable, right?
I think so, definitely. That's what they were arguing, and it feels right.
Okay, so the conversation then kind of flowed into the idea of adaptability, which
Sure.
feels just so central to dealing with any big change, and AI is definitely a big change.
Constant change seems to be the new baseline.
Yeah, and the hosts contrasted that traditional idea of a straight line career path.
Yeah.
Learn a skill, do the job for 40 years, retire,
Right, that linear model,
with what seems to be the new reality.
which is much more dynamic. They use a great metaphor, surfing.
Oh yeah, the surfing metaphor. I like that.
Yeah, the tech landscape, especially with AI, it's like these constantly shifting waves.
Uh-huh.
And if you just try to stand rigid, stick to your old plan, you're probably going to get knocked over, wiped out.
Right, but adaptability.
Adaptability lets you ride those waves, adjust your stance, shift your direction, use the wave's energy.
So adjust your skills, your focus as things change.
Exactly.
And it's not just about learning new tech skills, is it? I mean, that's part of it, but
No, you're right. It's also about cultivating a certain mindset,
like what?
like genuine curiosity, a
Yeah.
willingness to experiment, to try new things, and importantly, being okay with maybe failing sometimes along the way.
The learning from failure part. That's tough but necessary.
It is. You have to get comfortable with this idea of continuous learning. Lifelong learning isn't just a buzzword anymore.
It's survival, almost.
And potentially reinventing yourself, or at least significantly retooling multiple times in your career.
Wow. Yeah, that mindset of continuous learning, it feels absolutely key.
Because the skills that are hot today might not be tomorrow. Adaptability means staying curious, always looking for new knowledge, and being open to applying it in ways you hadn't maybe thought of before.
Okay, so this leads pretty naturally into something else they discussed, which is embracing AI itself, not as this big, scary monster,
Right, not the threat narrative.
but as a powerful tool. They specifically mentioned those initial worries, remember, like ChatGPT taking all the writing jobs.
Oh, yeah, that was a big wave of panic for a while there.
But the perspective needs to shift, right?
That's what they argued, and I think it's a really important shift. Instead of seeing AI as a replacement, focus on how it can enhance what we do, make us better, faster, more efficient.
So the real difference isn't AI versus humans.
No, they put it really well, suggesting the key distinction will be between humans who use AI effectively and humans who don't.
Implying there's a big advantage for the first group.
A significant advantage, yeah. Those who learn to leverage AI will likely pull ahead.
So it's more like seeing AI as like a co-pilot, a really smart assistant.
Exactly, something that can handle certain tasks, data analysis, drafting text, coding snippets, whatever it might be.
Freeing up our human brains for the higher level stuff. Strategy, creativity, complex problem solving.
That's the idea. But it means you have to actively learn how to use these tools effectively. Understand their strengths, but also, crucially, their weaknesses and limitations.
Right. You need to know when to use the tool and when human judgment is still essential.
Precisely. It's not necessarily about becoming, a deep AI researcher for everyone.
No, not feasible.
But developing a solid foundational literacy. understanding how AI can be applied in your specific field, your work, and getting proficient with the relevant tools for you.
Okay, that makes sense. Learn to wield the tool. Now, shifting gears slightly, in
Hmm.
a world where AI can generate so much content so easily,
Yeah, the potential for just noise is huge.
right? The Future Proof episode highlighted the growing importance of building a personal brand, one that's rooted in authenticity.
The personal brand. And they used that moat analogy, didn't they?
They did. The moat. I thought that was really evocative.
It's a strong image. It emphasizes the protective value of having a clear, well-defined personal brand.
So in this sea of potentially generic AI-generated content,
Your unique voice, your distinct perspective, your established reputation for quality and insight.
that becomes a huge asset, right? Something really hard for an AI to just replicate.
Exactly. It's your defense, your moat. Think about it, like they pointed out, AI can churn out 1,000 blog posts on a topic.
Yeah,
But if you've built a reputation over time for providing genuinely insightful, trustworthy analysis in your niche,
people will still seek you out. They trust your filter, your perspective.
your personal brand becomes that signal in the noise, a source people rely on in what could otherwise be a really overwhelming digital environment.
So it's about fostering that trust, that connection with your audience based on your real expertise, your values, the consistency of your work.
Yeah, that human element of a personal brand, your
Mhm.
story, your values, your unique take, that's what differentiates you from just content.
Very powerful. And speaking of human elements, the host also touched on something really fundamental, the power of community.
Ah, human connection.
Yeah. In a world where maybe we're interacting more with AI or through screens, the need for real, meaningful human connection, it doesn't go away.
If anything, it becomes even more vital. That's a crucial point they made.
How so?
Well, while AI can give us information, maybe even simulate a conversation, it can't replace the support, the shared learning, the collaborative spark that comes from being part of actual human communities.
Right. You can't brainstorm with ChatGPT in quite the same way you can with colleagues you trust.
Exactly. Those connections are essential both for our personal well-being and our professional growth, especially as we're all trying to navigate this changing landscape together.
It reinforces that idea that we're not supposed to figure all this out in isolation.
Definitely not.
Connecting with other people who are also learning, adapting, exploring what AI means, that can provide just invaluable support.
And diverse perspectives too, right? Things you might not have thought of on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. And even just opportunities, unexpected collaborations that might pop up.
Absolutely. These communities, whether they're formal networks or informal groups, they can be sources of inspiration, accountability, just a real sense of belonging, while we all try to figure out this new terrain.
Sharing ideas, experiences, even frustrations within a supportive network. That feels incredibly empowering right now.
It really does.
Okay, finally, they touched upon something really critical as AI becomes more powerful. The ethical considerations.
Yes, this is woven through everything, isn't it?
It has to be. They stress the importance of ethical thinking in both how AI is developed and how it's applied.
It's not just about what AI can do, but what it should do, and who decides.
Exactly. There's real responsibility there. To think about the consequences, the potential biases in the data AI learns from, the impact on jobs, on society.
On fairness, on privacy, the list is long.
It is. The point was, we need to be consciously trying to use AI for betterment, for positive outcomes, not just, for profit or efficiency, without considering the downsides.
It requires ongoing vigilance and thoughtful discussion from everyone involved, not just the tech creators.
Absolutely. It's a societal conversation.
Okay, so to kind of bring it all together then, our deep dive into this future-proof episode has really surfaced some key strategies for thriving in the edge of AI.
Yeah, let's recap maybe. We hit on the importance of having that proactive mindset, right? Not passive fear.
Right. Then skill stacking, combining your abilities in unique ways.
And constantly cultivating critical thinking, not just taking AI's output at face value.
Definitely. Plus, remembering the enduring, maybe even increasing value of emotional intelligence, those human connection skills.
Yeah, and adaptability as a core competency, that surfing mindset.
Then there's embracing AI as a tool, learning to use it effectively.
Building that authentic personal brand to stand out, like a moat.
Yeah, the moat. And nurturing real human community and connection for support and collaboration.
And finally, underpinning it all, keeping those ethical considerations front and center.
That seems like a pretty solid roadmap, actually. Lots to think about and act on.
It really does. So building on that last point about ethics and about community, here's maybe a final thought for you to ponder.
Okay.
Beyond just using AI tools or adapting your skills, what's your personal role, however small, in shaping the responsible use of this technology? How do your choices, even your daily interactions with AI, contribute to the kind of future you actually want to see?